Brace.
What?
Brace.
Yeah.
Brace.
Call me Muhammad Atta, baby.
No, brace.
Yeah.
We're in the same room.
Yeah. We're in the same city. We're in the same...
Don't tell them what city.
Okay. Listeners, I'm going to tell you what city. Just as soon as I think of a suitably white... No, we're in the worst city on earth.
What?
New York City. Let me tell you. This is... Oh, big tough New York. Oh, hey, I'm a good fella. I'm a made man. Oh, I'm Puerto Rican. Oh, I'm Jewish. Oh, whether races live here. I'm black. Oh, I'm a lesbian. I'm transgender.
Famous race lesbian.
What is all the other shit Cuomo said? I'm a fucking, I'm white.
Brace is not impressed by New York.
Place is a dump. It's first of all, haven't seen a single rat except for what you might call these people walking around here.
Turn on your monitor.
Yeah, okay, I'll turn on my cell phone, call the police, and tell them that you have a gun and are threatening me, and they'll come here in 4 hours, and they won't even shoot you. They're bums. They're all bums.
So what you're saying is there's too much trash.
Uh-huh.
And not enough of a police presence.
Yes. Yeah, and I was thinking about this last night, and I've been in New York City for 2 days.
Yeah, you got a real good impression of the city. You've been to 2 neighborhoods.
Yes. Well, that's not all right. What's a borough? First of all, because that's like a neighborhood.
No,
so
that's not a neighborhood. It's a borough.
Yeah. Okay. What's a borough then?
It's a borough.
Yeah. You can't.
There's
yeah,
4.
This is all right. What's a borough?
Oh, there's 5.
Yeah, well, there's actually a hidden, forgotten 6th one. But I got to tell you, not impressed. Walking around, everyone's like, you'd think like, all right, so I thought until coming here that the main industry was the mafia. It seems like everyone's just out to eat.
I think you're reading too many profiles on The Sopranos.
No, I've never seen an episode of The Sopranos, and I never will.
You've only read blog posts.
I have never read one, and I never will. That's fake. Also, isn't that in New Jersey?
Why are you getting so angry?
Because I hate this place. There's one organization that I actually read about last night that I kind of was a little impressed by. Well, you know how like everybody on the street you see here is like a demon?
What?
A devil? All the little people walking around.
Oh my God.
Smiles on their faces.
I gotta take you to new neighborhoods.
Their wide pants with their many pleats. Their cruelty.
Bucket hats.
So
many swirls. Everything is swirled.
Bob haircuts.
Tiny purses. The
tiny
purse is so
purses.
tiny. So tiny you can't fit your big phone.
But I can fit it in my little pocket. But I read about an organization that was actually trying to clean up this place. Because I gotta say, there's not a lot of legal crimes here, but there's a lot of social crimes that I think are going on in New York. And the police obviously aren't helping whatsoever.
Right.
So I read about this organization called the Guardian Angels.
Oh my God.
And it seems like what they do is they just go around and hassle New Yorkers and like kind of beat them up, push them around, yell at them, are a noxious presence. And I can't think of any better organization to ally with on that. So I will be joining the Guardian Angels here.
You're my guardian angel.
Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein.
Hey.
Hey, you can tell I was about to do that.
You
voice.
were. I could see. That's what you do. Okay, hello everyone. This is what Brace does right before he's doing the "ee" voice. He kind of like pauses. He looks down. He's got his little hands
clasped together.
Clasped, big hands, clasped. Not like
I
that.
got big hands, but a little dick.
But then you kind of like silently sway.
Because I'm trying to get fatter.
And then you're like, it's like you're building up the momentum to go, hey,
I'm living with my mother. No,
we saw someone do that today.
We did. Okay, yeah, we sort of did, but we did see a bicyclist yell at a guy.
Yeah.
And he did say like, "Hey, I'm bike." Well, he didn't say that, but
we said it.
There was a subtext to what he said.
No, he said like, use your mirror, and we were like, oh, he's barking here. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we were like, look.
I chased down a bicycle
Tourists we
thief
are.
last night.
right.
Yeah, even though I hate bicyclists.
There's a new sheriff.
Exactly.
In town.
And I followed a guy for maybe 20 minutes,
Maybe
minutes,
that's too
I
much
would
time
say.
on your hands.
And I didn't. I should have been asleep. It was very late at night. Before I realized, I'm like,
I think
this
you should
is
admit
like,
to following someone late at night.
I'm
on the
so
pod.
good at zero detection, by the way. I followed this guy for so long.
You know, I was coming here and I saw, I think like 4, I was walking down 7th Avenue, 4 spy shops
Really?
still exist.
What's
Booming
7th
market.
Avenue?
It's an avenue.
Okay. I'm from Avenue C.
No, that's the East Village,
something-
baby.
Yeah, I'm from the village. You know.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, what's up? Yo, what's up? This is Rudy Giuliani.
Imagine if Rudy Giuliani sounded like that.
What does he sound like?
Not like that. I don't know. He's always wasted.
I just thought that was like a mythical character.
No.
Yeah.
I'm Liz.
We are joined, of course, by producer Young Chomsky and welcome to New York. This is TrueAnon.
I don't know why we're telling everyone we're in New York.
I know why we're telling everyone we're in New York.
Why?
I assumed I'd have something to say after I finished that sentence, but didn't end up
Didn't
working
come
out
to
that
you.
way. We're recording in the same room. Young Chomsky is actually not in the same room as us, but I can see him.
He's over yonder, but I can't see him.
I can see it yonder. Classic New York word. I can see him. You can't. You should see what he's doing right now.
I don't want to see that.
No, you should see this. I didn't. Yeah. Well, anyways, I guess this episode's sponsored by Tushy, the portable bidet that people sometimes have.
think it's
By the way,
portable.
I'll be real. I turned on your bidet when I went in the fucking bathroom there. Not like on myself. Like I was just like standing over at the toilet and fucking with it. I soaked your toilet and spent a long time wiping it up with things because I was like, these guys are gonna think I pissed everywhere in here.
Did that really just happen?
Yes, that literally just happened. Yeah. Yeah, we're in freaking New York, recording the same room.
Freaking New York.
We're in. No, check this out. I'm not gonna censor myself. I'm in fucking New York.
Oh, look at you.
I
Cardi
hate
B.
it here.
Cardi
I
B
hate it.
over here.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
You don't hate it. You don't even
I
know
hate
it.
There's no wonder everyone does ketamine here. Well, I would want to be disassociated.
Everyone?
All the.
Okay, you don't know the neighborhoods and you know all the wrong people because I don't. Come on.
That's not true. I know. First of all, I got Vinny Stigma's number, and we can talk about that after, actually. But listen, I'm a New York hardcore legend, and I am just. It's just crazy to be back here after last time I was here it was 82 CBGBs.
Oh, love
Played a
CBGBs.
great gig.
I'm wearing their shirt right now, trying to fit in.
Yeah, actually, Liz right now is wearing. I can't. What she? What people? I don't know what people in New York wear. Everyone here is
I'm wearing
hot.
a CBGB shirt.
Everyone's like hot at like 8 p.m. and scary looking, and then mean and fucked up and gross looking at like 10 p.m. I don't know what happens. But
I think they go to bars.
Liz is wearing a ballroom gown because we're going to the Broadway later.
Let's go to the opera. I'd rather do that than Broadway.
No, I've been to the opera. Boring.
It's not boring.
It's insanely boring. Don't pretend it's not boring. Are you kidding me?
not
I've been to the
boring.
opera like 3 times in my life. Once as a child, so okay, I get a pass for that being boring. Twice as an adult, not great.
Well, maybe you saw the wrong opera.
Well, we are here.
We are here.
We are here. I like talking to you. I mean, we should
I
roll
know,
the
I just
interview.
wanna
This is gonna be
keep
a long
going.
episode, but yeah, we have with us today from what they actually call the New York of Missouri, St. Louis. They call it that because it was actually subject to a pretty devastating terrorist attack on September 11, 2001. But people didn't really care about it because most people think Missouri is actually in Canada. But we have with us here Devin O'Shea. Actually, he's not here.
Yeah,
I'll
why are
be
you
real.
lying?
We're here.
We're here.
He's in
not
St.
here.
Louis.
Yeah, he's in St. Louis.
He's calling in, and we are going to be talking about. Well, if you made it this long, you'll find out. What's up?
What up?
Devin, you gotta do it.
Do it without laughing.
Do it. Come on.
It's the most appropriate way to start this. It's just what's up?
What's up, Dilly Dilly, my friend? I actually missed the whole Dilly Dilly ad. I just saw
What's Dilly Dilly?
I think they did like a Dilly Dilly kind of thing. You know, none of my business. I don't actually. I don't watch ads.
I only watch ads.
Yeah, well, that's the difference between a man and a woman. Women watch TVs for the ads. Guys watch TV for Schitt's Creek. We have with us here today, cracking open a cold, actually burning hot Clamato. Just boiling. It's so hot. Oh, it's burning his lips. They're all fucked up and chapped looking now, but he still can do the episode. We have with us returning guest, Devin O'Shea. Devin, welcome to the show, bud.
Thank you so much for having me back. Dilly dilly to all the listeners.
Dilly dilly to listeners. We have brought you here into the brew zone, not only to try a little flight of craft beers, maybe top the foam off with a one of those things that you sand your fingernails down with, but you have written an article for Protein Magazine about a family, the Busch family. And no, ladies and gentlemen, he's not talking about the other alcoholic Busch family without the C. He is talking about the somehow even more alcoholic.
Yeah.
And actually, we can attribute at least one more direct death of a woman to a person. Because Laura Busch, killed a woman.
Absolutely.
And,
Right.
And HW, I mean, at least 3 or 4.
yeah. And of course, Busch himself, several thousand, just a few short blocks from here. But no, we're talking about the Busch family with a C from St. Louis here. And so, all right, Devin's written this article. We're going to obviously link to it. You can read it after. Don't stop and read it now. It'd be weird. But let's start at the beginning. So this is the Busch, the Budweiser family, the Anheuser-Busch clan. And why are you writing about them? Where does this start? Where does this story start? Who's making Bud?
I mean, the seed of this definitely came out of doing research for writing the Veiled Prophet book a couple years ago. I accidentally then became like a Busch family scholar. But yeah, that's the thing about St. Louis, especially if you ever grew up here, you would notice how much the Busch families in Anheuser-Busch has like this impression on every street corner and like academic buildings named after them, all the good stuff that we like, the public parks and stuff like that are all funded by like Anheuser-Busch nonprofit stuff. And so it pays to look into it a little bit. There's also like 3 Busch daughters who were Veiled Prophet queens. Mm-hmm. So
Naturally.
Naturally. Yeah, but this is also heavily based off of William Nodelsder. It's a really hard last name to say. I was
Classic
just calling him
Midwest
Noodlester?
last name.
Noodelsder, but it's like it's got a K on it.
Oh, I see. Knudzler.
Knudzler.
Is he a Dutchman?
Knuddler.
That
They
does
were
sound
caught
Dutch, right?
canoodling.
Yeah, I get an
Yeah.
air of perfidiousness about it. But
If he's
it
listening,
could
I'm
be-
sorry that we're.
Yeah, my
it's
bad.
just a
brother.
great last name.
I heard it's a good book.
It's a good book. And also, if I made anything that was slightly libelous in the article, I'll go ahead and blame William because he said all the spicy stuff. But yeah, Bitter Brew is the book that came out sort of like in the aftermath of Anheuser-Busch being bought up by an international corporation called InBev that is half Belgian, half Brazilian now.
Yeah, I'm very aware of InBev due to my time in the brewing industry.
Yeah, you're a craft brewman.
Listen, let's not.
A brewman.
No, I am not a brewman. First of all, I didn't brew.
You're
I've never.
first and foremost a brewman.
I'll be real with you, Liz. I'm not entirely sure how beer is even made. I was on another floor.
I don't know if I know either.
Exactly.
Actually.
I mean, I know the basics, but AB InBev looms over the industry, as I'm sure we'll talk about, a little later in this episode. And Anheuser-Busch, I mean, that's the AB part of that. But they were not always part of the globalist. Let me rephrase that. They were somewhat less a part of the globalist system for much of their time. And I believe they started, and you lay out really interestingly in the article how each of these sort of patriarchs of the Busch clan sort of mirror the time that they're in and mirror sort of the state of the industry as well. In some more the first and last more than others. And so let's start at the beginning. Where does this? Listen, if you know anything about beer, you know obviously this has got to be started by a German, right?
Oh yeah, I mean This is a confusing thing. Even though the Bushes all have Roman numerals after their name, you would think it would be easy to keep it all on track. But we can we got to start with Busch Zero, who literally is a West German immigrant. He's from the Grand Duchy of Hesse, and he immigrates to the United States. And his son is sort of the first Busch of Anheuser-Busch. So this Busch is Busch 1, and he acquires a brewery before Prohibition from a guy named Anheuser. He marries into the family, basically. Mm-hmm. And then, this is like a weird story that's very familiar to anybody who knows anything about like the drug war or the war on drugs and just how Prohibition works in general. But alcohol prohibition happens. And instead of like ridding our society of, sin, it just pushes alcohol consumption and into a black market. Mm-hmm. And the first Busch is basically able to mothball a huge beer brewing complex in St. Louis and wait out Prohibition, partially because his father from the Grand Duchy of Hesse is like a wholesaler who is already providing like wine and spirits sort of services. And so the whole point of that is that like Anheuser-Busch will try to tell you that like a normal guy just like had a good idea for beer and then like started a brewery. But in fact,
that's the story of every single brewery,
right?
Big or small. That's what they always say, and distillery.
Yeah, it's like it's the equivalent of doing a startup out of a garage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Prohibition is such a weird time in American history, and just also, I mean, obviously, what happened with the alcohol industry. I don't actually know as much about with the beer industry as I do with out in Napa, what happened to the vineyards and what they were kind of running out of there, where they were kind of like they would be sending out because they could still provide wine to churches and stuff, so they would get around stuff, and they would have all the bootlegging that they would kind of like hide from the authorities. And you pay off local cops and all of that. But how did they kind of like survive that era? Because they didn't shut down everything, right?
No, that was weird. I wonder if there's a similar thing with winemaking where like they were selling homebrew kits. So like that was always a weird irony
like
of
loophole.
Prohibition.
Yeah,
like I can sell you an amount of wheat and barley and some equipment for your bathtub, and you could brew some gin in it, and like maybe it'll make you go blind, but hopefully not.
That's crazy because like you think of Prohibition as being super strict, but like back then they don't even ID you for like if you want to buy some like barley and stuff. But now if you just want to buy some like maybe kinds of matches that have chemicals in them, or like if you want to buy a certain kind of like medicine at the drugstore, you can only buy one, and you have to show your ID in San Francisco, even though it's like maybe you're actually really sick and need to buy 20 boxes.
Yeah, sometimes you have to acquire a lot of ivermectin, and some asshole is carding you.
Yeah,
like you're not a horse, whatever. So yeah, that was like one of the big ways of getting around it is just like homebrew kits. And then St. Louis, crucially, is at the intersection of the barge industry on the river and also the railroad industry.
Yeah.
And so a big thing is happening at that time also, which is like, what if we had a train with refrigerated carts on it? And sort of right at the end of Prohibition, Gussy is able to, or not Gussy, Gussy's the next one, but Adolphus is able to shoot out of the gate after Prohibition. All of these guys are named Adolphus or Adolf or
Coors.
Like, Coors, yeah. It just, I don't know, something about that West German.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so after Prohibition ends, they're able to like triumphantly come out of the gates with a fully functional brewery faster than anyone else can get it together. This is like a big thing in the like hive mind of Anheuser-Busch because they still use the horses in the carriage as like triumphantly returning, to the bars. Yeah. And honestly, everyone loves beer. It's like the easiest thing to market in the world. Yeah. So it's like a big point of pride. Like the Clydesdales are just a big symbol of St. Louis. And a lot of working class people, you go and hang out in your like local bar and everybody has a sense of pride that at the bottom of every Anheuser-Busch logo is like brewed in St. Louis, Missouri. And it goes all over the world. And that really happened under the next guy, Gussy. But a big thing is just that the rail network allowed for Anheuser-Busch to shoot out into the rest of the country really quickly. Same way that Milwaukee is kind of on that transit network.
Right.
But so then the fun one comes because the Depression era, Prohibition era Busch ends up shooting himself in the head.
Depression era.
Yeah, he had depression and mental illness does run in the family. But he was also very sick, I think, was the main thing. It wasn't anything too shady. The next Busch in reaction to that is like the Willy Wonka Busch, and his name is Gussy.
So he's a pedophile.
Exactly. He lures children into the brewery.
Brace has a whole thing about how Willy Wonka's a pedophile
I hate Willy Wonka.
That makes no sense. It's really terrible.
I mean, I don't know.
I love Gene Wilder, so Willy Wonka's fine with
Gene
me.
Wilder.
Yeah.
How do you have a guy named Adolphus and then the kid is named Gussy?
Well, the kid's name's Augustus, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all named the same thing, I think. Or something similar.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. So he's like a wacky one?
Yeah, he like really takes the brewery into overdrive, and he like buys the St. Louis Cardinals and owns it until his death, and like opens up Busch Gardens, the theme park aspect, and like Grant's Farm, which is basically like, what if we had a petting zoo where you could get like absolutely hammered?
I've always been wondering what that would be like.
Is Grant's Farm still around?
Yeah, it's still there. It's cool.
So you can just like, it's like you can touch a goat but drink Budweiser?
Yeah, you can have like 7 Budweisers and approach a donkey and
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
I gotta say, it seems okay to me. I don't know. Maybe it's not so bad.
I don't know. It seems wholesome-ish in places. But it's like a staple here of just like, it's a fun thing to do on the weekend. And so he's like the fun one who in the post-war era is like selling a ton of Budweiser to the boomers. And like it really expands the business beyond all proportions. And then he has a ton of kids, like just tons of them. And the heir to his throne is Busch the Third, or as he's termed within the company, Three Strokes.
Listen, okay, a lot of people have been called that. And sometimes it's actually like kind of an ironic nickname because it's actually like a lot more than that they can do.
How are you going to let yourself have that nickname?
If you're the seat, why are you letting people call yourself Three Strokes if you're the head?
I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about. That just refers to the Roman numerals.
Oh, yeah, strokes of the pen.
That's awful. Poor guy.
He really has a tough time. He's also the exact opposite of Gussy, where there's this whole thing in the Busch family of like the heirs and the predecessors reflect off of each other as like dark mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
That's called the dialectic.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's got extremely Hegelian because like Three Strokes was extremely uptight and very paranoid, especially about He was really did not want anyone doing any drugs ever.
Except for alcohol.
Oh yeah, right. But that's not a drug. That one's, legal kind of.
Yeah, true.
He was just like the most uptight guy ever. And conveniently enough, when he takes over the brewery, is in this big machination within the brewing industry of light beer. So in the 80s, people start, like you can kind of see that cultural remnant in the 80s of just like people start exercising on purpose and there's a demand for super light beer that doesn't taste very good.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. That's the big one. What did you guys drink in high school as like the cheapest, worst beer?
Steel Reserve.
Steel Reserve.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I drank mostly Steel Reserve.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Yeah.
That was it.
My drinks in high school were Mickey. The first beer I ever had was a
I never
Mickey's
drank
Hand Grenade
Mickey's.
in Hunters Point.
Oof.
Bought for me by Max Reynard.
Sounds right.
Whose penis I saw that day. Not... He just kind of got drunk and took his pants off in the middle of the street. It wasn't like a thing. And then I drank a lot of Steel Reserve because we could shoplift those pretty easy. And then Jim Beam, we would drink a lot. What was yours?
We were drinking Natty Lights here. Like,
Oh, sure.
30 rack of Natty Light. And I don't know how that happened, but it was disgusting.
Yeah.
When I went to college, we drank a lot of Yingling.
Oh, yeah. That's like, my uncles will bring like a bag or like case of Yangling down and be like, yeah, this is like our craft beer. I guess this was in like the 2010s.
I'll be real. I drank a lot of Anchor Steam growing up too. That was like a very popular.
Yeah, San Francisco.
Yeah. And then when I kind of turned like 17, 18, Jim Beam and Sparks. You get one Sparks
big,
and
yeah,
a
that
half
was-
pint
I
or a pint
remember
of Jim
those.
Beam. That was.
Oh, my God.
Oof.
Living in New York, drinking Sparks was a recipe for disaster. for
Yeah,
me.
we used to buy it at Crackistan on Mission. That was
Oh, God. That
Yeah.
place was crazy.
it was a great.
That place still exists.
Oh yeah, it still
Oh,
exists.
my God. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Memories.
Memories. This
But
is also
yeah,
in
light
the
light
Hypnotic
beer.
era.
Because in the
So-
80s, everyone, I don't know why, but I think that was like the era when people stopped being naturally skinny in America. Because, you look at old
the
pictures
80s?
of everybody, it's like everybody over 50 is like majestically corpulent, but like everybody under 50 is like kind of in this weird like pugilist shape. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then like starting in like the late 70s, 80s, like people just ate too many hamburgers or something. Like it's just continued to wherever it
Yeah.
is today. And so they had to start inventing shit like light beer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it must be the hamburgers, the cornstarch, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's like the chemicals they put in the damn food.
Yeah. But I mean, that segues perfectly into the next era of Busch, where like Three Strokes in the 80s era. Why are you guys laughing at that? That's not funny.
We
That's just
saw
saying.
there's a spider that's making a funny face.
Oh, that's okay. So his era is also defined by like beer marketing. Like marketing for beer has always like been a big thing, but in the 80s and 90s, it really takes on its own insane sort of. It goes from just as a rough sketch, like let's have branded mirrors in the bars to like let's try to psychologically associate sex with
Yeah.
beer in the way that's like the most toxic mechanism possible.
My uncle had Budweiser Babe posters above his hot tub.
Oh yeah, that's a real uncle move.
Yeah. I will say like
It was like in a like wooden, I don't know, outside. I don't know what that would be, but it was like in a like kind of like had a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of like a pergola sort of situation.
Yeah,
And just like all, I remember looking up and it was just all papered with Budweiser girls, like this kind that you see, those posters that you find at the liquor store.
I think you can think of it like this. Like you have Billy D. Williams going from saying like works every time with Colt 45.
Right.
And to just being like, to just having the girl that it works every time on in the ad instead, like, no, you don't need Billy anymore.
Right. Yeah. You don't need advice. You can just, it's just
Yeah.
an image picture. So, yeah, this gets into, I think, the main character of the essay, which is Busch the Fourth, who's the son of Busch the Third. So Busch, I don't even know where to start with him.
This guy's crazy. An incredible character.
In the essay, I started with so Busch the Fourth goes to, I believe it's the University of Arizona, not Arizona University. Those are different. But he is basically a guy who shows up to college with this entire beer kingdom behind him.
Yeah.
He's got a Roman numeral by his name. He has a fake ID at age 19. He's the typical kind of frat guy, but imagine the insane power that would come from going into a bar and saying, everyone have like a round of my family's beer, Budweiser.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just unfathomable power in a college setting. So, but things go quickly wrong for Busch the Fourth. One night he's at Dirtbags and he has, I think, 7 Tom Collins drinks, and he and a waitress who works at Dirtbags named Michelle Frederick are going to go to another party with some friends. They get in a car. Their friends are in a different car. They sort of speed off into the night, and no one sees them at the party. And then the next morning, the Arizona police show up to Busch the Fourth's apartment, where they can hear like music playing inside, and they go in, and there's like guns everywhere, and he is like pulled out of bed with like blood all over him. And it turns out that like earlier that morning, there's a report that there's like a flipped sports car in a common place called, Dead Man's Curve.
What? Let me stop you right there.
Sure.
How many Dead Man's Curves are there? Because
Every town has a dead man's curve.
Everyone's got a Dead Man's Curve. I think the one near Santa Cruz is called like Devil's Curve or something.
Well, there's Devil's Slide,
Devil's
which is
Slide.
the one that's in between what San Francisco and Pacifica.
Or
Pacifica and Half Moon Bay.
I think it's Santa Cruz and San Francisco. I can't remember.
Well, no, it goes in between Pacifica or Half Moon Bay, whichever one it is.
But there's like too many dead. I gotta say, if you build a curve and people nickname it Dead Man's Curve, do some road work. Change the curve.
Yeah, that was an engineering flaw,
Yeah,
that you're trying to paper over with just a name.
exactly.
But also, if you know of Dead Man's Curve, it's not like, hey, let's try to drive as fast as we can around Dead Man's Curve. The other thing is that they find Michelle Frederick's body close to the wreck, who was left there for the whole night. And there's like Budweiser beer cans around the car. In the car is like a sport coat with the Fourth's name stitched into the collar, plus his real ID and his fake ID. And like, I think there's also a gun in there, because there's a gun everywhere he goes.
Yeah, he's got a lot of guns.
He's a big gun guy. So the Arizona police, naturally, the story seems pretty familiar. But the Anheuser-Busch lawyers basically come into Arizona and just airlift him out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then his story is that he's got like head trauma and that he can't remember what happened, and maybe they were in a car accident.
Traumatized.
Oh yeah.
How far is it from that place and where he was asleep in his bed? So
Yeah, I'm not sure how he got back there, if he just like walked. It doesn't seem like that was very close to where he lived.
yeah, it's funny how, this whole thing, these characters have almost become cliches themselves. I don't know if you watch that show Succession, but I was reminded of that, and these kind of, obviously the writers like drew a lot, I think, from the Busch family, with the theme parks and, clearly the kind of fail kid murdering a young girl in a drunken car accident. But that it's all kind of reminiscent, or it pulls from all these sort of kind of like dinosaur dynasties that have built American industry.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of Succession, and just the way that like wealthy families can provide enough resources and a bubble for their kids to grow up in, where like nothing can ever touch them, basically. Because Busch the Fourth then gets lifted out of Arizona back to St. Louis, where he walks into St. Louis University immediately, gets like a prime parking spot because he's worried about like having to walk too far, and then proceeds to spend the next like 2 years becoming well known for like doing table long lines of blow.
Well, hold on. How long are these tables?
I'm thinking like bar tables, but it sounds like they like pushed them together and was like, I don't know.
Okay, that's a long line of blow, because I'm like, if it's like one of those teeny little tables that people put like succulents and shit on,
yeah,
that'd be like
that's manageable.
Yeah. But an actual table seems expensive.
Yeah, it's the way that Bitter Brew kind of phrases it is like he develops like a little gang of other rich kids, and then they go around to all the bars in St. Louis, and sort of like he has a guy who will go into the crowd and pick out a girl for the Fourth and be like, hey, do you want to come party with one of the Busch kids?
That happened to my friend with Eli Manning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, someone who I can't say, but yeah, she went to a camp with the Mannings when she was a kid, and they were already like pretty famous because of the college, because Peyton was already a big college star and Eli was a big high school star at the time, and she was like approached and said, "Oh, the Eli Manning of the Mannings wants to talk to you."
Oof. Classico
rich kid move.
Well, and of course that also, I think I've told this story in the podcast before, happened to me and the Killers. Well, it didn't happen to me. It happened with
that's right.
The band, The Killers. That happened to some girls I was with. I was just the one who went to the Killers hotel room. Well, somebody told me you had a boyfriend. I want to be clear here. I never had sex with anyone from the Killers. I want to make that like really. Why are you giving me that look?
I don't think anyone thought that.
Okay, like we've like fucked around and stuff, but like it wasn't like. But yeah, no, that's like a common tactic, which is insane to me. And it's also insane that like this guy's just having his friends do it in college. I mean, it shouldn't be, I guess it shouldn't be a surprise. But yeah, this guy seems like a real, like a scumbag in every, like you can just picture him. You don't even have to look up a picture. You can you can see him in your head.
Yeah, because as the table lines of blow era is going through, the hospital in Arizona just like, oh, we lost all the evidence from the car wreck. We like send it through a centrifuge on accident. So
I hate when I do that accidentally with evidence.
I load all the evidence into the evidence destroyer for safekeeping, and then I accidentally hit the go button.
Yeah. That's what's strange to me is like the evidence in this is his wrecked car.
Yeah.
Several cans bearing his family's last name, which it's Budweiser. But a jacket with his full name on it. And a dead woman he left with that night. You know, I'm not a lawyer or anything here, but it seems like enough evidence to probably get you somehow.
I mean, maybe if you were a son of a lesser beer distributor, maybe that would be enough to at least get you in a little bit of trouble. Or, another thing is like, perhaps if I'm getting airlifted back to St. Louis by the most high-powered lawyers in the country, I would go to an AA meeting. I would maybe try to calm it down a little bit. But instead, the Fourth develops this habit of, in St. Louis, right on the river, across the river is East St. Louis, which is like the industrial corridor, which is also where all of the strip clubs are. And so the fourth and his friends would go out in St. Louis proper, then cross the bridge to go to the strip clubs, and then come back at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And on one of these nights, Busch the Fourth was pulled over in his Corvette by some undercover cops. And when the cops got out of the car, he just floored it and like sped away. And this turned into a high-speed chase throughout the Central West End. But the key here is that the cops did not know that they were like pulling over the fourth. They thought it was like a high-powered drug kingpin who was like trying to get away, which like that's ironic if you wanted to be a Reddit guy and be like, actually, you know, alcohol is a drug. And
that's literally not a Reddit opinion. It actually is a drug. You know, I'm sorry that all you drug addicts think that it's... the thing is, but let me tell you, it's once you start realizing it's a drug, you're like, this entire, it should be made illegal again.
Yeah, coffee is a drug too.
Exactly, which should also be illegal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But also he probably had enough other drugs on him to get like an intent to distribute charge.
Yeah,
like in all likelihood. And instead,
like actual drugs, like cocaine, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Like other actual drugs, yeah.
Yeah, real life drugs. And then
because I would think that local cops would know not to chase down a member of the Busch family. Like if you're a guy who is like, oh, I'm a guy who's also a cop in St. Louis, and I want to, get some promotions. I want to do well at my job. That's going to mean not going after the family that basically underwrites the town.
Exactly. Yeah. In literally almost every sense.
Yeah.
Plus doing specific things like hiring cops to do off-duty work, like security around the brewery or events or something like that. There's a lot of that going on too.
Yeah, you don't want to fuck up that gravy train for everybody.
Especially since these cops ended up having to stop the fourth on this high-speed chase by shooting out his tires. And so now you open the door to the guy's tires who you just blew out, and you're like, oh, I was shooting at the beer prince. This is not good for my career. Like Bill McClellan, who's the big Post-Dispatch truth teller, the one guy they allow to say stuff. The one guy at the paper who's allowed to tell the truth sometimes was like, yeah, that's not good for your cop career. He was saying this in the headlines afterwards. And so they had him in the drunk tank for a little while. He comes and gets picked up. And that's kind of like that's like the end of a little era in the fourth's domain. Mm-hmm. And after that, he does kind of calm down and start to get prepped to be the CEO of the empire, having, tested his mettle against the police.
something every heir to the Busch family must do, which is get drunk and try to evade the police.
That would be legitimately cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So he does end up taking over, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. And he has a bit of a mini reign at the company.
Right.
Although it's like unclear how much, he takes credit for a lot of things, but it's unclear if he's actually, really did very much.
Yeah, like the Forbes writes an article about how he's going to get ready to be the beer scion, and it's after the Budweiser Toads advertisements.
Sure.
Which is like, it's hard to describe that. I think like Matt Christmas has said it before, but like there was one meme per year and it happened during Super Bowl ads. And that was the one meme for the year.
Yeah.
Was just like, what if Toads said a beer name?
Wait, check this out. Bud.
Wise.
Zer.
There we go. Look at that.
There we go. I like that.
Vintage right there. Like a Molson's.
I remember thinking that ad was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd be like, damn, those frogs can talk? What kind of shit they come up with next?
It is. It's like definitely part of the weird marketing birth.
Yeah.
And like, it's very strange. Also, the fourth did not come up with it. It was from two interns from Fleshman Hillard, which is like an ad agency here.
But he certainly took credit for it.
Oh, absolutely. Meanwhile, there's like a large section in Bitter Brew that is just about the fourth in all of his escapades during this period of like going on vacation a lot, sort of go into these resort island areas that where as not me, but William Nodelsender says, like, reports upon somebody working at a hotel who says, like, yeah, we would help acquire, like, girls for him to, like, party with. And they would be, like, you know, Budweiser sort of models or, like, dancers. And he had, like, really weird sexual stuff going on. Like, stuff that was way outside, the quote says, the normal purview.
Like a McAfee situation?
It sounds like that, yeah.
That's,
like,
I mean, unless you're getting even more far out there, that's about usually
You can
kind
get
of
further
limit.
out than McAfee.
You kill them and have sex with them or something. I don't know. That's further out, I feel like. But
He also could have done that.
the thing is, too, and this is I think an important part of the Busch 4 story. The man tweaks, and once you start introducing chemsex into things, no disrespect
that.
to a statistically significant portion of our listenership, things can start to get a little funky with that too. And so, who God knows what he was up to there.
That's, yeah, I don't like that term. That's,
Yeah.
it's really dark.
Yeah. Well, chemsex is also when you get drunk and have sex. I just want you guys to know that too, because alcohol is also a chemical.
Yeah, if you have a cup
What
of
about
coffee.
sugar?
Yeah. Sometimes people drink a lot of sugar and have sex really excitedly,
Just wondering
but
what
it's also chemsex.
Yeah, much to think about. It's also weird how this is like a McAfee thing of like guns too, of just having a lot of guns, and just
Yeah.
loving them. So the end of the or I guess another point of Bitter Brew also that I had a bone to pick with is that the narrative in St. Louis and advanced by most of the business press is that the fourth is the one that ruined the company, and was unable to stand trial in front of the shareholders, and that's why the St. Louis gem was bought up by InBev. There's like a crucial shareholders meeting where the fourth like can't stand up straight when he's giving a speech, and that's
So the man
basically-
likes the product too much.
He's too
It's
much
a testament to how good it is.
honestly, it's that good. Imagine how many Budweisers you would have to go through to achieve that state. It's a lot.
45, 35, around there.
Oof.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah, so then I just remember in this period in St. Louis, like I knew a lot of families who literally worked at the bottling plant or drove the trucks or worked in the corporate office doing the marketing. And the corporate office is completely liquidated after the 2008 sell-off. And all the bottling works and all that stuff is still there. It's unionized. It's a good job. But there was, as I point out in the piece, there was never even like a hint of an idea that this thing that is in St. Louis could just go back to belonging to the workers who actually make the product, who actually create the value for the thing. And like it's just a real shame because I think, as we'll probably talk about, like the distribution network is kind of like the most important aspect.
Yeah.
So then Busch the Fourth ends up in his like country cabin after this, sort of in hiding. And then there's some goings on in the paper where his wife named Adrienne Martin. Adrienne is a Budweiser model, swimsuit model, which is a common theme here. And her son, one of the housekeepers reports that her son is allowed to walk around the house that is covered with guns and like weird stuff going on in all the rooms. and he has social services called on him. Eventually, the cops like break into his house to see what's going on. There's like a big raid about it. And then later, not long after that, Adrian Martin is reported dead in the house of a drug overdose.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so it's another, dead woman in the periphery of Bush the Fourth's life. Then in 2017, the most recent thing that happened after Bitter Brew came out is that one Monday afternoon in a busy office park, Bush the Fourth landed his helicopter in front of like a rural king in the parking lot that's full of like lampposts that could easily eat a propeller, and was like too high to fly it away. Which the cops really wanted him to do. Like they really wanted like, get out of Swansea. We don't want like the beer prince here. But they like breathalyzed him. He had zero, but he had a bunch of guns and prescription pills on him that he gallantly tried to pin on his new wife, Donna
move.
Wood. And so he got basically put back in the headlines as the folklore thing I heard about this was just like, yeah, he got too high and tried to fly himself to the hospital to get treatment for being too high.
A self-airlift.
Right. That's
Yeah,
like,
wow.
Do you know how expensive a ambulance ride is?
So he's trying to actually save the city some money there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, smart guy.
Yeah. So that's kind of the end of the Bush the Fourth's story, but also, as we'll talk about, then in 2020, the Bush Family Brood gets greenlit by MTV as a fun Bush family reality show. Except this doesn't have anything to do with the main Bushes. It's all about the Billy Bush Jr., who is a cousin. I think he's a cousin of Three Strokes. So he's like one removed.
What?
I just can't take that guy that nickname seriously. It just makes me laugh.
Yeah, I will say, when I looked this up yesterday, no one who appeared on the show has a Wikipedia. So, like, I don't think we're dealing with, like, the actual titans of industry here, just sort of like some people that some money rained down on.
Well, it's a really interesting family because, like you said, it's, at the beginning, your piece really does, like, track these sort of, kind of different decades of, how this family kind of reflects the changes in, American industry. And as it, reaches this, as the family is, like, basically dissolving into, I don't know, just, like, a drug helicopter airlift spiral or whatever. Like shootout at the Ozarks, whatever this guy is doing, the world economy is crashing and the company gets sold off to, into the multinational company that it is now that owns it. And the Bush family, what's left of it, or the kind of remnants of it, are kind of like refracted out into these like ancillary cousins who now trade on it, on the name and the kind of whatever relationship that name still has to this sort of, vision of a bygone, industry, how that was tied to this like idea of America, the Budweiser like plant and fortune and family that they then trade on like some MTV reality show that literally no one even knew existed until we read about it in your article. It's remarkable how it kind of all tracks these sort of larger shifts and changes in, the underlying political economy of the country.
It's very strange. And I took a bullet for everybody by watching every single episode.
Okay.
And it's so boring. It's like not even a good kind of boring, but it's just, these are bland kind of kids. It's like if the rich kids at your high school made a reality show about their life.
Are you kidding me? How could you not like episodes with titles like Jake's Makeover, The Sex Talk, Texas Size Drama, which I actually watched a portion of, Gussy's 23rd birthday, not of course the
There's a new Gussy, a tiny Gussy.
The next steps and groundbreaking. We start off with 456,000 viewers for the first episode, and we end with half of that. That is not great ratings right there, let me tell you that.
Yeah, I checked out their Instagrams, which are very weird. The Billy Busch Jr., that's the main, right?
Yeah.
He has a monkey, and I have to say that when you see a rich guy with a monkey, that's not a good sign. Not a good sign. Trouble will follow.
They're not supposed to be pets.
No, they're equals.
Instagram really is the place where they're trying to trade this currency, though. Like the girls are trying to become like equestrian influencers.
Oh,
kinda.
interesting.
Yeah. And then Gussy, the Billy Busch Jr. doesn't seem to want to be in the public eye anymore. He moved to California and is like surfing or something.
He's in the Boo.
Yeah. And the one who, or then the littler one, the blonde one, Gussy, and Haley have a spin-off right-wing talk show on the local FM station. And they named this, the name of their show is Behind the Busch. So this is like a brother and sister duo.
This is something you would tell an analyst.
Why would you say? I don't understand where you even get behind the bush.
Well, it's you get to the vagina.
No, but that's why would you? The saying is around the bush, not behind the bush.
Well, they're not beating.
Yeah, there's no beating.
But why would you? But it's not even a saying. It's not a thing to make. There's no pun to like. It's just like a suggestive thing that makes no sense.
And it's not like about their lives, because that would make sense. Like, here's what it's like to be a cousin of a former owner of a very fancy, not fancy, excuse me, but very wealthy family. But instead, it's like them talking about politics.
That's a hard question to answer because it's like almost impossible to listen to this radio show.
Yeah, unless people have said that about this one too. So it's it's.
I mean, this one is on multiple platforms. To listen to Behind the Bush, you have to listen in on your FM radio at 9:00 at night on a Saturday in St. Louis.
So it's terrestrial radio.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they're uploading. I think there's one episode that they uploaded to the website and the radio station is really cool too, because they're like on right after a guy who's like Kill 'em Dan in the shootout hour.
Like, Kill 'em Dan, man, St. Louis rocks.
It's dope. Everyone likes it here. Yeah, so they're trying to become. I mean, Gussy Busch's favorite thing is like Don Jr. He thinks that that's like the smartest, coolest guy you could be.
Yeah, the part I watched of that reality show, there was a lot. It was basically like a family of Don Juniors.
Yeah, absolutely. They, you shouldn't feel bad for them because they spread like an anti-vax stuff, and they're just,
That's the thing is like Liz and was saying, like he's kind of saying in the article, it is sort of astounding how these like the generations sort of mirror exactly like what the zeitgeist, I guess. I hate to use that word, even though it's just a reference to my favorite movie of America, because, especially these sort of last, I guess all of them, but like, you had, Gussy, who was so like, had this sort of like, like basically adults in the like 40s were basically children, right? Like they just were like, they thought Coca-Cola was like the greatest invention in the world and stuff like that. Like they had childlike, they're like all like wanted pies and stuff. And then you get to this sort of like dour businessman kind of guy. And then you get to this like ad agency, like, oh, we're going to do things a little wacky. Also, I'm on cocaine kind of guy. And then you sell it off to InBev in 2008. And that's the InBev thing I wanted. And then, of course, then you have like just other random members of the family who are trying to be influencers, and then radio show hosts, political radio show hosts, which are basically podcasters. And I think that the InBev stuff is really, I mean, I sort of know the most about that. And that really, like, having worked in the beer industry as there's no difference between me and people who sell cocaine. I'll be honest with you, because both are harmful products that kill people every day. In fact, I would probably say that beer kills more people than other drugs, including heroin, which, unlike beer, comes from the earth.
Wait, wouldn't it be people who make cocaine?
Yes, I'm like a person who makes cocaine paste. But it's Dave Infante has a really good article up that I read. I remember when we were doing like the Anchor Steam stuff. AB is like, so the whole thing with the craft beer movement, I'm sure, considering this is a podcast, 99.9% of our listeners are IPA guys.
Ugh.
Stop
drinking that stuff.
I gotta be honest with you. I don't know what the fuck. I know what it stands for. Couldn't tell you what IPA is.
What does it stand for?
India Pale Ale.
Oh, that's right. Of course.
Yeah.
Pale ale.
Never liked beer.
Pale ale.
Yeah, I like liquor.
Just, learn about wine.
Yeah. In fact, you can just work at a brewery for several years and never figure out what an IPA is. That's no one's going to make you learn. But working in that industry, it's like a big thing that I learned about was like AB InBev's total power over it, right? Like, so InBev is the like Belgian Brazilian firm that's itself a combination of Belgian Brazilian brewing conglomerates that bought Anheuser-Busch in I think 2008. And proceeded to like totally dominate the not only the beer like market in general, but the craft beer market too. AB owned or AB InBev owned craft beers sell more than independent craft beers. So like just craft breweries owned by AB InBev sell the most out of like everyone else combined.
Yeah, makes sense because of distribution stuff too.
Well, the thing is, and craft beer sort of started as a reaction against big beer or whatever. We were talking about this before we started recording. It's like this very 90s kind of ad bustery way of like, we're going to stick it to the man by making our own.
We're in Portland. Right. I'm not like other girls. I'm like a cool girl. I make beer
Yeah.
Ugh.
Absolutely. I mean, they even mentioned in that article that they went out to Anchor to see what was going on in like 1994. And they came back and said, oh, yeah, the thing that's going to happen is craft beer is going to be cool and it's going to overtake AB. And it's kind of like this was the move that the Fourth could have done if he was, ready for duty. It's the same thing of like the invention of light beer or the end of prohibition.
Right.
It was like the event that could have happened.
It was the new market that was popping up.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they did buy a few craft breweries, or at least invested in them while the Fourth was in there, but like not to any significant degree. It's only after InBev buys them that they start snatching up fucking everything. I think Goose Island was like their first big one.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Well, that's the big move of like these private equity. I mean, it's basically private equity, these big, massive multinationals that are governed by just like different kind of capital centers. The only thing they can do is buy up different entities and grow and grow and grow that way. They're not making investments into like production. They're just buying up properties that then they either strip of substance to turn into intellectual properties, and there's lots of value, brand value for certain things in that mode, or they just amp up the distribution, change the manufacturing, and something like Goose Island, or Anchor was bought by
Sapporo.
Yeah, Sapporo. That's a big one, right?
We're their only. Well, yeah, Sapporo is much smaller. Like
is it Asahi? I forget.
That's a different kind of beer.
No, I know. I'm trying to remember which are like the big
Asahi and Sapporo. I think are the two big ones. But Sapporo. I think we're the only, I don't work there anymore. But I was the only U.S. beer that Sapporo owned. But they own Sleeman's up in Canada. But something like AB InBev not only makes they have the capacity to like they bought Goose Island or dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of other craft breweries. What they do is they go in there, they see the top selling beers, and they just they're like, you make these now. Like this is what you make. And what they'll do is they have this incredible distribution network. I mean, that's like what they're renowned for. And so they can take your craft beer and like get it everywhere. I mean, you're sort of selling your soul or whatever. I'm putting quotes around that in exchange for that. But what they do is they muscle out like all of the other craft beers. So like they basically will take up so much shelf space at grocery stores, liquor stores, and stuff like that there isn't actually room for non-AB InBev craft beers. And they don't advertise the fact that they own a lot of these breweries. You know, like you can find out if you look it up or whatever, but like,
right, because that would kill the vibe.
Yeah, it doesn't say it on there. No, like it's continuous. And so it's like this like countercultural thing is literally like more than half owned by one of the, I think AB InBev has like 20% of worldwide market share of beer.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, you know, don't look at who owns all of the alternative energy companies.
Yeah.
Spoiler, it's a lot of the gas companies.
Damn. Yeah, and as you were saying earlier, Brace, like this is now like a machine that is like run by very competent people, and it's not, so you kind of get rid of this beer dynasty monarchy that keeps inbreeding into bad heirs to a multifaceted machine that just seems unstoppable.
Yeah, you compare it in the piece to the kind of like, you know, waning European aristocracy. And it has that kind of feel of the like, you know, horrible bourgeois bankers coming in and killing what's left of the aristocrats that are like stewarding the, you know, I don't know, wheat or barley, whatever. I don't know what's beer's made. I'm sorry, I know nothing about beer.
That's about right. There's hops or something. That's like that was from a Doug Henwood article that's also very good. That's just about like the part of that aristocracy was very insistent upon stewarding the property that I'm going to bequeath you as like, you know, the patriarch passing my wealth down in a single file line. And that like that's just something that in this corporatized era we really don't have. And like I don't know. I also tried to make the point in the piece that like this should be very upsetting to the children of the rich right now. Like it's impossible to speak to them politically, basically. But it's like, well, your life is going to be worse because of climate change, even if you're able to pay your way out of it. It's going to be worse because of the stage of capital we're moving into, or that we've been accelerating through. And you should be mad at your parents, even though they gave you a
trust fund.
That's it, trust fund.
Yeah.
Just goes to show that generations do not a class make.
Mm-hmm. No, and what's pretty astounding about all this too is that like it's not astounding. Actually, it's very much not astounding. But it's like, you know, Budweiser is still like this American brand, right? Like, I mean, Budweiser has the American flag cans.
Yeah. And
like, but there's this like sort of Busch family without a Busch, you know, like, or without an Anheuser-Busch. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure some of them maybe have some like bullshit jobs at the company. I don't know, but like they're certainly not in charge of it anymore. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like this hollowed out,
exactly
empty can.
Like it still might be made in St. Louis, like you're saying. Yeah, you know. Wow. I'm thinking sometimes you call there's a term we describe some people as dented cans, which I've always really like. Yeah, I'll tell you what it means after. Okay. But it's a sobriety thing. You drug addicts wouldn't understand about it. But yeah, I mean I mean even at Anchor, right? Like Anchor, the first craft brewery. It's not the first small brewery, but it's like the first brewery that like started like the craft beer kind of trend going. Mm-hmm. That was, I mean, it was started, you know, in 1896, I think, by like I'm sure a German immigrant, I can't remember. And it was bought by Fritz Maytag of the Maytag appliance family in 1965. Mm. And he ran it in this like really patriarchal way that like, he like was the steward of it, right? And I'm not saying that in like a way that's like even bad. Like it was a good place to work. He paid people really good because he didn't want a union. And like people had a lot of loyalty to him. I mean, that does not seem to necessarily be the case with the Busch family, but like, you know, just as an example of this kind of stuff, you know, he sells it, he retired, or like he goes to can't remember exactly what year, but like sometime in the past decade, he sells it and then goes and like focuses on his wineries. Sells it to these two like kind of like tech bro-y guys. They fuck it up. I think their plan was to like kind of strip it and sell it, but they were like too shitty to do that. So they just end up selling it at a loss to Sapporo. And, now it's like we were part of like this, we're the first part, but we were part of Sapporo's North American strategy to buy breweries and like get more tapped in with the North American market.
Tapped in,
exactly. That's my podcast about craft brewing, Tapped In. Yeah, it was, and it was, and you heard, I mean, of course, the two guys who, sort of had it between Maytag and Sapporo fired a lot of the old timers. But the guys that were still there and making like a lot of money per hour, which was fucking fantastic, these guys had a lot of loyalty to Maytag and like they knew their boss. And now it's like, you don't even have that, right? Like there's not even a guy, like I couldn't tell you who owns Sapporo. You know what I mean? I probably could a couple of years ago, but I can't tell you right now. It's like you don't even have like they don't even have the decency to like have a name or a face or whatever.
Yeah. They're just entities that are owned by other entities that are owned by other entities.
Exactly. Yeah. It's they also rebranded the Anchor Steam bottle and it looks
that's
awful.
it looks really bad.
Yeah.
You can't change a classic.
Can't change a classic.
Damn. Yeah, it does all remind me of Succession a lot. But
the Busch family is definitely one of those. Well, it's just I keep wanting to say Busch, like extra pronounce the C and the CSH or whatever. But the Busch family is definitely one of the kind of prime. I don't know. Yeah, fallen.
Dynasties.
Yeah. Extinct animals, giants.
Should be a lesson for all those rich families that think they're unbreakable. Only takes one generation,
Yeah, no,
and
it really
a shit
does.
ton of cocaine.
Yes,
a lot, and a helicopter with guns in it.
So to close us out here, you had mentioned that you've got a little more veiled profit stuff.
Oh yeah. We can run through the recap on the veiled profit for the year?
Absolutely.
Now
everyone's wearing a freaking mask. Who's veiled, who's not, right?
God,
Makes
that's
you
so
think.
true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, I mean, the big news is that we have a new mayor in St. Louis, Tashara Jones, who's like the first female black mayor in St. Louis history and is way more progressive than any other St. Louis mayor, even though she's kind of like a Warren Democrat. But that changeover in power basically like got the Veiled Prophet kicked out of the 4th of July parade. So he's like not invited to be in public anymore. It's not sure. I mean, it could come back. It could happen next year. Maybe they're just waiting for the heat to die down. Mm-hmm. But they replaced the Veiled Prophet with a new mascot who is a furry, like an eagle, kind of dressed like Uncle Sam, named Archie.
What?
I'm sorry. So they just got a worse thing?
Yeah. They got a giant eagle with a Uncle Sam hat and a scepter. And at one point, the scepter had a VP on it, and then the graphic designer had to take that off. And there was like a bunch of back and forth weird stuff going on.
They should have just veiled the new one and been like, no, we swear it's actually like this furry guy underneath. Don't worry.
Well, he is veiled technically.
Yeah,
he's like, no, dude, don't worry.
Mascot is a veil by another name.
He's all right. Yes, I understand he looks like the Veiled Prophet, but the guy who is the Veiled Prophet is a furry.
What if they just made the actual Veiled Prophet guy dress up as the mascot? And it was like, well, now we're humiliating you by putting you in this, really stupid looking costume.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That'd be tight.
Now joke's on you.
Exactly. I mean, I can still harbor suspicions that like Archie is a white supremacist and no one can prove me wrong yet. But I'll keep tabs on it for now. If it comes back, that would be really bad. We shouldn't do that. There was also this weird thing that happened where a guy was like, a guy emailed me out of the blue and was just like, "Hey, Devin, you're the Veiled Prophet guy, aren't you?" And I just got divorced. And I signed the divorce papers, and I swear, Devin, 1 week later, my wife, she married a Veiled Prophet. So now I'm on your side, and I'm here to help take down this organization with you.
Wait, what?
You got to join. I'm sorry. You got to join forces with this guy.
Oh, no, yeah. We need, like, the divorced dad power that he brings to the table.
So, this
It's
is
like Captain Planet, but the ring that he has is divorced dad.
Well, actually, he actually doesn't wear it. No, he still wears it because he's like, "I'll get her back."
Yeah.
Right. He has to pawn it for an alimony payment.
Yeah. He's wearing like one of those like black bands that like, I don't know. You probably don't see these, but like every Instagram ad I get is for like your daily loadout, and these guys always have like these black bands instead of a wedding ring on. We can change the subject.
I want to hear more about your Instagram ads, Brace.
I don't. I already told you about the last one. We don't have to. We can just keep moving with this.
I mean, all power to the divorced guy. I like him. He did send me a lot of names of people who are probably in this situation and a couple stories that are unverified. But we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, this seems like some good leads for you to follow up on.
Yeah. And then there's, of course, Mark McCloskey, who is still running for Senate. In Missouri, our choices for senator are a Democrat who shot a commercial where he was like, had a gun because he was in the military and he was going to shoot it at something. And then he goes, "I wouldn't do that because I'm not a Republican," and like doesn't fire the gun. Yeah.
Wait, sorry. Like, he's in the army in this commercial and he's going to shoot something and then he refuses?
Yes, this is Lucas Kuntz, who...
I'm sorry. What? Maybe I should have led with that.
Sorry, what's
Can we go back?
Guys, I don't want to be vulgar on the radio.
Wait,
just say his name.
It's Kunce. Kuntz.
Dude.
Brother.
This is the best that the Missouri Democratic Party can muster.
Here's the thing. I don't advise anyone voting Democrat ever, except for in this case, because we need a Senator Kuntz.
We need a Senator Kuntz. We need it, yeah. Because...
For feminism.
Well, it's also like, finally we get the answer. What's behind the bush?
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
Look at
Full
that.
circle.
Look at that. Yeah.
And that's why we call him the broom. And
no, they do not call me that. Mark McCloskey is, of course, the man armed with a military-style assault rifle, famously pictured outside of his St. Louis estate.
Yeah, one of the funny things about that, Lucas is running against Mark, and then the other choice is Eric Greitens, who was famously removed from office when it came out that he tied up a woman he was having an affair with and took pictures of her and threatened to blackmail her with those pictures. And then that all came out. So the choices are bad. But Mark is funny because things don't seem to be going well for the campaign. He had to have this whole thing where he got sued by all the photographers from that day of the protest because he tried to use the protester photographers' images. And so he had to restage the entire thing with his wife.
No.
Are those pictures out?
Yeah, they're out. Because he like went and got Christmas cards printed using, it's a whole thing of just like copyright infringement stuff. And so they restaged it where
and this time he shot the protest. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and he shot the photographer. They do have better trigger discipline in the staged photographs.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. He's got a proven record of defending Missouri, fighting for Trump. Number 2, Stop Critical Race Theory, which is just a picture of 2 black men shaking hands. And they're wearing suits. Take on China and balance the budget, pro-life, taking on big tech, break them up. Okay. Fighting cancel culture. And then that
rocks.
Yeah, this guy, yeah. Can't compete against a guy named Kuntz, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Cunts who won't shoot his gun.
Yeah.
won't shoot his gun because
Almost
he's
call him a pussy.
dignified. Yeah, Mark is strange too because he's like, famous picture outside the mansion with the guns. Other campaign picture. What if I was in a flannel on a farm? Like, do you believe me? Like, I'm both. I'm both mansion owner and farmer.
They call that town and country where I'm from.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna work. And he's gonna be my senator, and it's gonna rock.
Jesus Christ. Well, it seems like I got to
Things
be
are going
real.
well here.
You guys need another. I mean, Jack Dorsey's from St. Louis, right? Maybe you get him to move back there, and you get like kind of like a yoga type city.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take yogic investment whenever we can get it. We do have Cori Bush. I mean, we got to stick up for one of the most progressive congresswomen.
Unfortunately, also a member of the Bush family, though.
Yeah, that's. But the other one, the George Bush family.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Devin, it was a pleasure. Anything else you want to plug or get out of here?
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been amazing. I still have the Veiled Prophet novel. Unfortunately, unless your mom works at Penguin Random House, it's very hard to get a novel published. But I still got that, and it's very good. And then I have a short story and a small essay up on a little project called DoNotResearch.net that, I'm very proud of. The other work that's up there in the edition is extremely good.
Unfortunately, I usually take direction, so I will not be researching, but...
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, we'll link to all that in the show notes and the new piece on the Bush family, which is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Well, Devin, it is a pleasure, and we now officially have a St. Louis correspondent, so that is...
Between me and Michael Judge.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
but we never talked about St. Louis with him.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to go. Well, we got to go for that thing that I want to do.
Yeah. Liz wants to drive a helicopter through the arch.
Oh no, it's something to the arch.
He thinks he can do through the arch. You
She's
guys
gonna
need
do something
another
terrible
thing.
to the arch.
No, Liz is a riverboat gambler, and so she's trying to rob several blackjack games that are going on there.
This town is for you, then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, technically, it's not this town; it's the Mississippi River. If it was this town, I wouldn't
International
gamble
waters.
there. Yeah. Well, Devin, thank you so much, and we'll hope to talk to you. I hope to never talk to you again. Hope nothing weird happens in St. Louis ever again. But I have a feeling that will not be the case.
I don't think so. Thanks for having me.
In New York. Da, 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 da. I can't remember it. Remember that? In New York.
What is it?
New York, New York. It was like the Jay-Z song.
Oh, yeah.
With Alicia Keys?
No, I don't know that song. Oh, I love that song.
What are you talking about? You listen to Alicia Keys all the time.
I listen to Alicia Keys constantly.
Now, here's my question.
What?
Is Alicia and Alicia, those are different names? Or those just...
What's Alicia? There's no one named Alicia.
Yeah. Some people go by Alicia.
Well, I guess that's a sort of self-answering question.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone. I met a lot of people with some funky freak-ass names.
Yeah, that's not a funky freak-ass name.
Well, it's just Alicia said fucked up.
You said that you can pronounce a name any way.
That's true. You can, but I'm saying no one does it. You can pronounce a way.
People do.
A name.
People named Alicia.
Okay, well.
Alicia Silverstone.
Alicia Silverstone. Yeah.
Thank you.
that's
You
true.
have heard it.
That's
Boom,
spelled with
liar.
That's spelled with that AE.
Gotcha.
That's like a combo
Red-handed
thing. No,
in the little
first of all,
mousetrap.
It's not little. The regular size mousetrap. It's actually the global average size of a mousetrap. First, wait, before we goof off too much, because I'm going to forget if we don't, I have to shout out some fellow breweries that have recently unionized. Of course, ILWU with Anchor in San Francisco. But over there in the Twin Cities in the Midwest, my boy Anders over at Fair State Brewing Cooperative, which was not a cooperative, it was just named that. People, they always name shit like that. And then there is Great Lakes Brewing in Ohio. And so those are the other two craft breweries that have unionized besides Anchor in the U.S., although I know for a fact that there's many others in the works. But unfortunately, that means that unions are now Reddit and soy. So I will be opening... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to hire some people here and then treat them like shit.
Wait, what?
We need some employees.
No.
Yeah, because, we got this mic stand right now. What if there was just a guy holding it for me?
No.
That'd be sick. And I'd
You
be
know
like,
why? I don't want to manage anyone. I already got to manage you, and that's too much on my plate.
maybe I should make some claims against you.
Wait.
If you're managing me, you're doing a bad job. I'm crazy here in New York. It's crazy
you're like
here.
chasing people down in the middle of the night.
I didn't chase him. I did chase him and got
Yeah,
off
you're
the
like,
bike.
doo-doo,
Yeah.
doo-doo,
No,
doo-doo,
dude.
doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo.
I was having a thing. A little bit of a thing. Anyways, I'm here. I got to New York. I'm at Tisch. Tisch? Is that a
The
real
school?
Yeah, I'm here to come to Tisch. Is that a fashion? Rhode Island School?
No, that's for theater.
Okay, but I'm in the I'm like costumes.
That's Parsons.
I'm here at Parsons.
Or Pratt.
I'm
Because we're
here
in
at
Brooklyn.
Pratt. I'm here at Pratt. I'm 19.
Who's honking?
Oh,
That's what you got to say when you hear
No,
someone honking.
no.
Who's honking?
He's sexually harassing you. It's a guy
He
down
can't
there.
see me.
I know, but he can't see you, so he can't yell at you. But if he honks, you can hear it.
Oh,
so
I see.
He's sexually harassing. I don't know. Aren't you gonna?
Yeah, tip of my hat.
Okay, yeah, there you go. That's all that. Because if I'm catcalling you, just tip your hat at me. All
yeah, and
good.
if you don't have a hat, do what I'm doing. Just
Pretend you have
pantomime. Tip of the hat.
one. It's crazy though. A guy did come up to me last night, and I don't know if this is like, maybe this happens to a lot of people, and just no one takes it. But he told me that they're selling the Brooklyn Bridge.
No, they're not. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
the guy is like, I bought it from him for like $500,000, and I own it now.
That doesn't mean anything.
He said he's sending me the thing in the mail. It's crazy. I mean, this is the greatest city in the world.
They're probably selling it in part of the infrastructure bill.
I am so glad that I met you through the Pratt School of Design podcasting department. Liz, you are a graduate of Brat College, right? I heard you actually graduated summa cum laude.
I'm sorry, what?
Summa cum
Oh, baby praise.
summa cum. What? Sorry, am I actually saying that wrong?
Yeah, summa cum laude.
Someone's cum loud. I don't know. It's crazy. I just make like loud ass grunts. Like,
We're
it's
just going. This is gonna be a long episode.
I'm so hot and sweaty right now.
I know.
We need
Why
to
are we
stop
still
going.
doing this?
Okay, let's end the episode.
You know why? Because it's so nice
Yeah,
to talk to you
I
in
know.
person, which guess what? We're gonna be doing for some time now.
I'll be real though. Once we stop recording, actually, we can just keep talking, and they actually don't even have to hear it.
Well, yeah, but I'm just letting them know
Well,
that we're gonna,
I'm still making my mind up about that. No, okay, you've convinced me with that smile that I can see. Because I'm not just watching a movie while we're recording like we usually do when we do it online. My name is Aaron Rodgers. I am joined
What?
here. Yeah, I'm joined here by
You don't watch football.
that's my real name, right?
Don't bring up Aaron Rodgers to me. I'm mad.
I don't know who that is. I'm Brace.
Oh my god, he's like the biggest football player in America. Well, Tom Brady. Okay, I'm Liz.
We are joined, of course, by producer Young Chomsky, the smallest football player in America. And the podcast is a production of Pratt School of Design's podcasting department, room 301. We'd like to thank the Pratt Studios for allowing us to use their facilities. And it's called TrueAnon, working title, but once the dissertation's all together and we kind of have this group project going, believe me, I will see you all at the Bowery.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
James O'Shea, Jeffrey Epstein. James O'Shea, Jeffrey Epstein. James O'Shea,